Mayor Roland Dykes.
Here.
Vice Mayor Mike Profit.
Here.
Alderman Mike Hansel.
Here.
Alderman Bobby Knight.
Here.
Alderwoman Luana Ottinger.
Here.
Alderman Steve Smith.
Here.
City Attorney Terry Hurst.
Here.
City Administrator James Fincham.
Here. We do have a quorum present, and we can do the business of the City of Newport. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. It's been included in your packet. The regular session from December 8th, 2020. Please signify your approval by aye.
Mayor, we need a
I'm sorry, we need a motion. I'm sorry, motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Bobby second. Okay. We do have a motion on the board to approve the minutes of the December 8th, 2020 regular session. It's been properly seconded. Please approve by the normal sign of aye. Any nays? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 4, proclamations and the recognition of citizens by the mayor, which I have none. Communication from the city administrator.
Thank you, Mayor. On our COVID-19 update, currently we have one employee who is out with COVID. They are in their second week out, and to my knowledge, they're improving somewhat and hope to have them back soon. Everyone else that has been affected, either through a positive test or close contact with a positive case, are all back at work at this time. We're continuing our protocols, meeting every Monday with all department heads, and continuing to go by the executive orders of the governor and following the guidelines of the CDC. One thing to be aware of, just for information, the CARES Act, which was put into place early in the pandemic for federal monies that went to the state that would reimburse us on any expenditures COVID-related that we have expired at the end of the year. We bought a lot of personal protective equipment. We bought thermometers. The thermometer you see out in the hall, in the lobby when you come in, here and at the community center and at the police station were all purchased with those funds. They reimbursed us for salaries for those that were out up to 80 hours, and all that has expired at the end of the year. We're now on our own, but we stockpiled equipment and supplies, and we're in good shape on that. The only thing now is that we don't get reimbursed when folks are out sick with it. I do believe that that will be coming back down the pike. Everything that I have read indicates that they're looking to do a big stimulus for cities and counties and so on, and I figure that'll be a part of it, and I think that will be reinstated. But we'll be we stockpiled really well, and I think we'll be all right till that comes about. One thing, again, just to make you aware of, as you all know, we just come out of a reappraisal year on properties. And any property owner that disagrees with the appraisal of their property can appeal that. And we had several local businesses that did that and have been doing that for the past several years. One of those was Lowe's, and Lowe's appealed their appraisal to the state of Tennessee, and they were heard by a state judicial officer. It's a court, but it's not like a regular court. It's a state civil appeal court. And so they came to a agreement where they had mediation, and they compromised, and they were wanting a major cut in their tax rate, in their appraisal, which would affect their tax rate. And they ended up with a agreement in which we're going to have to refund $50,000 of their property tax. And so I don't have that on the agenda, because there's no voting on it, you can't not do it. It's a court order, and so we have to pay it. And so I'm just going to make you aware that has happened, make it a public record that's the case. But we are going to have to reimburse $50,000 to Lowe's in property tax. Now, we do have other businesses locally that are also appealing. Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, to name a few. A lot of national chains, what we have learned during this process, do this routinely. They do it in every location that they have a presence. So Lowe's has been fighting this out for several years, and so what we're going to do in the future, in advice from meeting with state advisors, is that when they contest an amount, we're going to not make them pay that till we see how it goes, so we don't have to reimburse it. But this time, we are going to have to reimburse $50,000 where they won their reappraisal, where their appraisal was lowered from what it came out to be. They got it lowered to a lower amount. I do not know what that amount is. I just know that it's costing us $50,000. And finally, in your books, I sent out a small packet on the request for funding for a section of roof for the Newport Grammar School. I tried to get the most pertinent pages out of this booklet right here that the grammar school provided to me. I just got kind of the highlights for you guys to look at. As y'all know, we had to, when COVID hit, we had to drastically reduce the budget based on revenue projections that the state had given us. And we took all capital funding out of the budget. And we have slowly been trying to put some of that back in since that the revenue stream has been okay. It hadn't been affected like the state predicted and projected. So I promised Sandra, Mrs. Burgett, that at the beginning of the year, if the revenue stream stayed strong, that we would look at putting the grammar school roof back into the budget. And our revenue stream has remained strong. And so what I would like to do, if you all don't have a problem with it, is I would like to give her the green light to go ahead and get bids on her roof. The thing that we really need to look at, and I think the only thing you have to consider, is whether you want to go with a 20-year roof or a 30-year roof. And you don't have to do this tonight. The only thing I want to do right now is just move forward to allowing her to get bids, and then let us look at, if we have them by the February meeting, have it on the agenda for February to look at what their recommendation is on the bids and the amount thereof, and to fund whichever one we end up going with. And if everybody's in agreement with that. Now, Terry, would that need to be voted on just to ask for bids? I didn't think we'd have to have a vote just to ask for a bid.
I'm glad to get bids, though.
Yeah.
I'm glad to get bids.
Well, they have, Community Tectonics, and this is included in your packets. Community Tectonics has a projection of a 20-year and a 30-year roof in a number in there, a dollar amount. And last time, when we did the earlier section, the front section of the roof a couple of years ago, their estimate was off quite a bit. And so this time I feel like it'd be prudent on our part to get an actual bid to look at instead of committing to a number that is not an actual number. But the roof, I put a couple of pictures in there. I've got even more in this booklet here if you'd like to see them. But they need a roof on that section, back over where the gym is. And there's 3 or 4 more sections, the smaller ones, but I thought we need to get the biggest and the worst first, and then focus on the smaller ones later. But I'd like to do that. If everybody's in agreement on that and feel comfortable doing that, we allow them to move forward with getting their bids on the roof, and allow them to get a 20-year bid and a 30-year a quote on the 20-year and a 30-year, and then let you all decide which way you want to go on that as far as the funding goes. And it'll be easier to make a determination, too, when we see the dollar amount that we're actually looking at having to spend as opposed to a projection that I think is probably going to be a little high. And if it ends up being lower, as we think, it will be easier to go with a 30-year roof as opposed to a 20-year roof, because, if these numbers are high, like we think they may be, that would allow us to go with a 30-year roof, possibly at a number close to what the 20-year roof is in here. So I think we have to be able to make an informed decision, and the only way we can do that is with the actual bids. So if everybody's comfortable with that, we'll let them move ahead with that process, and hopefully we could have it on the agenda in February, and that way they could be good to go by spring.
So the board's pleasure is to grant approval to allow them to submit bids or to get bids for the roof. Everybody's in agreement?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you. That's all we got.
That's all you got?
Oh, and Boss Mayor was wanting to say, he was wanting to say a few
Got
words.
a word, because that first place I'm glad Boy Scouts is here. I used to be, I was a third Eagle Scout over in Cobb County, so we're glad to have y'all. I know what that means. Appreciate what you boys have done. Another bunch I'd like to say thank you to is the city and the county and the NUB and the storms and stuff, trying to restore power. I know it was a hardship, but everybody worked real hard getting that stuff back together, and just wanted to tell them, if you see some of them, tell them thank you for what you did, okay? Appreciate it. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Next item is consideration of appointment of boards, commissions, and committees. Consideration of appointment to the Fire Civil Service Board, Mr. Willie Green's term, appointed by the City Council.
And he has indicated that he would like to remain on the board, Mayor.
We need a motion for that.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we do.
I make a motion, put Willie Green back on the...
Okay, we have a motion on the board to reappoint Mr. Willie Green to the board. It's been properly seconded. Are there any questions? Hearing none, we'll approve by the normal sign of aye. Little delay there. Okay, the motion carries. Reports from committees, members of City Council and other officers, Tanner Preservation Alliance.
I feel like I told Mr. Fincham earlier, I've lived at the Tanner Building the past week, and it's really starting to set in on me today that I need to not spend as much time up there once we get the building open. So, working on the parking lot today, Water State's moving things in. On Tuesday, lady and gentlemen, they're going to have classes at the Newport Center here. Now, I know they've had classes, Water State's had classes in Newport before, but for a long time, somebody's been trying to establish, we're the only Hamlin County adjacent county, that doesn't have a Water State satellite, or did not have a Water State satellite. And people have been trying to do that here for a long time. And with the work of the mayor and this council, we made it happen. So don't, next time somebody fusses at your Walmart about traffic on Friday, just tell them that, and that'll shut them down, I feel like. It's a big deal. But, that's going to be the next big hurdle. I feel confident that everything that needs to be done before they have their class Tuesday night's going to be done. And then, it'll be a milestone for Newport.
I've seen a lot of improvement in the last few weeks on that. They're beginning to pep up a little bit, cleaning up stuff. It's looking a lot better.
Yeah, the cosmetic stuff on the outside, once we're hoping that later in the spring, caseload numbers are going to be lower, and just given the passage of time and vaccine and whatnot, and around the area, that we can do a bigger to-do up there, because you don't want to do something dangerous, and you don't want to. It'd be a bad public look to go out there now and have a big ribbon cutting. So they'll go in with little fanfare, and at some point when times are better, we'll go and properly celebrate getting the building back open. That's all I got on that.
Okay, our next order of business is consideration of the second reading of ordinance number 2020-12, budget amendment for the Newport Grammar School.
And Mayor, I'll read that, the caption of that ordinance into the record. It's ordinance 2020-12, an ordinance of amending the annual operating budget and capital program of the city of Newport, Tennessee, fiscal year 2020-2021 for Newport Grammar School.
We need a motion to approve.
Question.
We have a motion.
Luanna made a motion. Reckon that's what she said.
Yeah. Do we have a second?
Yeah. Have a second.
Okay, we do have a motion on the board to approve. It's been properly seconded. We will need a roll call, please.
Okay. Alderman Mike Hansel.
Yes.
Alderman Bobby Knight.
Yes.
Alderwoman Luanna Ottinger.
Yes.
Alderman Steve Smith.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mike Profit.
Yes.
Motion carries. One item of new business is discussion of the street closure on the Old Knoxville Highway.
Mr. Faust had approached me to take this before the Planning Commission, which we did last month. We went through that whole thing, and I'll give you the elevator pitch on it. What he wants to do is purchase, I think he's got a purchase agreement for the property next to his shop out on 2570, you're familiar. And he would like for the right-of-way, which it didn't print well, and I apologize, but there in your book you can see how the right-of-way actually, if I hadn't drawn those stupid lines, you could see it easier, but the right-of-way actually goes through a good part of that property over to Jaybird. The right-of-way over to 2570, where Old Knoxville Highway actually goes, would be the existing border we would keep for the property. And he wants to close the right-of-way over to Jaybird and then use some of that for the parking. He wants to construct a new commercial building on the property and use, he said it would look a lot like his current building, so just if you're imagine it in your mind, and put it there. And he was, depending on the size, he wanted the property that is the right-of-way to be deeded back to him as part of the new private property. So there are a couple of things on there. You can see that I put one issue's possible. Oh, I thought Mike had a question. One of the issues that you can see on there is potentially safety, because there's no traffic control between, if you turn off of Broadway or 2570 onto Old Knoxville Highway, there's no traffic control there if someone's coming from Jaybird. So it's possible that you could have collision there. It was just something when I felt like it was opened up, good intention, but I don't think everybody thought everything through there. The possible increase in property tax revenue. Those are numbers if the structure that he built were appraised at what he paid to have it. So those are high numbers, so it probably won't get that high, but those are your potential yearly additional revenue, property tax revenue if he constructed the building. So this is not an action item because we would need an ordinance, Terry, or resolution. We would need proper paperwork to vote on it and a survey, and there's some other things that would need to get done. So I guess I would just like to ask if this is something that the council is interested in. I will move forward with preparing the ordinance for next month, as well as getting some other information together, whatever the pleasure of the council may be.
I just have one question, Gary. There are two entrances coming off 2570, one going up Jaybird Road, and there's another one about 50 feet up by the jewelry place. How much of that is he wanting to close?
The closure is maybe on the second page, or the second schematic you can see there, where I've kind of drawn in how I think the proposal would go. it would just close, we would do some sort of, close off the access to Jaybird, and then draw the new property line to touch, for the two, can you see that? I should have done a visual.
I think I know what you're saying, but
Yeah, are you saying that the second, are you calling Melton the second entrance?
no, I'm talking, there's another cut through
Just where the jewelry store.
where the jewelry store is.
Okay. No, that wouldn't be affected. This would just be the large right-of-way for Old Knoxville Highway, and then it goes off to access to Jaybird, and then you can draw any property line up to basically the road.
So we can have a parking lot right there.
I don't know what kind of square footage that adds to the property, but
Come down.
it's not a lot, but basically, he's just looking at that, I think, for the parking for the building. Because if you did the biggest size, the 5,200 square foot structure, I don't know if he can meet the guidelines for parking. I don't think he'd have enough room. But that doesn't mean he's definitely doing that, because I don't know if he's decided yet.
Okay. The board's pleasure.
Again, like, I wouldn't need any sort of, I don't think, would I need a formal motion, or just sort of like earlier, if anyone's got any giant objections to it, let's talk about it now, and if not, then I'll gather some more stuff together and have the ordinance drawn up.
Any questions?
If this is something that we're fundamentally opposed to, then I'll know from now on if someone comes along and asks. But I can see why you, in certain situations, you wouldn't do something like that to close down a right-of-way and then deed the property over to the private property owner. But there is an issue with potential safety here, I think, and then you are adding back to the tax roll by putting that right-of-way on there.
Well,
And he has a development in mind.
Well, my only concern, of course, living in the area, is that the citizens that live there, what might their response be?
Right.
The neighbors. So that's the only concern I would have.
We can add a public hearing to the process if you think that.
You'd have to have a public hearing.
Wrong term, public forum, something, yeah. So if people wanted to come and.
That's what I had, just asked that same question, how's it going to affect the other? And I've not had anybody object to, I've talked about it to them, and nobody's objected, but I just want to know, is the jewelry store okay with it and stuff, or do you?
Rhonda, and I haven't spoke to what's the new business that's going, they're a print shop, right? That's just on the other side. I haven't spoken to them, but I will and get their feedback on it.
That's what I need.
But Rhonda was on board because she would possibly benefit from the added parking because she doesn't have much.
Right.
And I think that was sort of the agreement that Rick had with her about doing it.
Okay. Well, I think we need to proceed with some kind of public forum, but in my opinion, it's okay to go ahead and start researching and do whatever ordinance that you need to prepare for that, but I would like to get some reaction from the folks that live in the area.
All right. I'll get with you tomorrow, or, wait, is tomorrow golf day?
No.
Okay, all right. I'll get with you tomorrow. I'll get with you tomorrow and come up with a plan.
We're golf days for a while in this weather. Okay. Gosh, I'm killing this microphone. Next item are bids, purchases, and expenses, which we have none listed. We now have comments from the citizens, if there are any. Anyone wish to be heard?
Congratulations, our new board members again, appreciate it.
All right, if there are no further business to come before this board this time, we will entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion on the board and a second. It's been properly seconded. Are there any objections to adjourning? Hearing none, motion carries.
I had a microphone down in Lewisburg.